Hi guys, this is Miss Sarah here today, Fire Pup Sarah. I am at a fun place. Can you guess where I am? Look at my hat. Where am I? What kind of person wears this? Did you say a firefighter? You're right. So our summer reading theme is read, investigate, and discover, dig deeper. So we're gonna be digging deeper into community services, and one of those is a firefighter. We're gonna learn a lot about the engines today. And with me to help us investigate and discover, I have Fire Captain Smiley.
Hello.
All right, so I have some questions for you here. How long have you been a firefighter?
I've been a firefighter for 16 years.
And I know you're a fire captain. How does that go in the ranking system for
Okay,
firefighters?
so when you become a firefighter, you start off at the bottom as a firefighter. And as you work your way up, you take some special tests and take some more classes, and you learn how to drive and operate all of the things on the fire engine or fire truck. That next promotion is called a fire apparatus engineer. So you're actually driving and checking all the tools, and then you're operating the fire pump and pressurizing hose lines. It takes a lot of math and knowledge of mechanics to be able to get into that position. Usually takes anywhere between 2 to 5 years of experience. From there, you can then promote to supervision, which is a captain. The captain is kind of the person that watches the firefighter and the engineer during the day, and on an emergency scene is the person who is first in charge of their crew in making decisions on what it is that we're going to do to try and solve the problem. From there, you can promote to a position called the battalion chief. That person is the supervisor of the captains and all of the fire stations in the city. After you become a battalion chief, you can promote to the fire chief. And the fire chief is in charge of everybody. And he's in charge of the entire fire department and makes all of the decisions from the top down, kind of like a Christmas tree or kind of like a pyramid. It goes down like so, and we get all of our information from the top, and it spreads out. There's more firefighters than there is engineers. There's more engineers than there is captains. There's more captains than there are battalion chiefs. There's more battalion chiefs than there is a fire chief. That's how the hierarchy works.
Awesome. So you did have to go to school to earn your badge and do your job.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So tell us about the gear you wear when you fight fires.
So we wear multiple different sets of personal protective equipment. You might have heard this term on the news a lot, PPE. That stands for personal protective equipment. Like the mask that we wear right now to protect ourselves from transmittable diseases like COVID. What we also wear on medical aids is a mask, safety glasses, and gloves, rubber gloves to protect us from cooties that are out there floating around that could make us sick or ill. Also, if we go into the mountains or on one of the large fields that catches fire, we wear a different set of gear. It's called grass gear or brush fire gear. It's thinner, it's yellow, really bright yellow, and it protects us from flame from grass and whatnot. But there's a very different set of gear that you guys probably have in your mind's eye right now, and that is our structural firefighting gear, also called turnout gear. Turnout gear protects us from the extreme heats and dangers of fighting a fire inside of a building. It's very heavy, it's very protective, and it is really, really, really hot sometimes when you wear that stuff. It protects us from the heat, and it also protects the heat from us as we're coming in there to get it.
Do you wear your uniform underneath your fire gear?
That's a good question. Sometimes. It depends on what time of day it is. If we were to get a structure fire right now and the tones go off in the station, most of the guys would come out and we're going to go ahead and take off our uniform shirt. But the rest of what we're wearing, our uniform pants, our belt, with the exception of our boots that have zippers built in, we take those off rather quickly, just because this shirt gets uncomfortable. But yes, to answer your question, I can wear everything that I'm wearing right here, minus my sunglasses and these boots, with my structural firefighting gear, yes.
Awesome. All right, so can you tell us about your vehicles? I see that we actually have 3 here, and I know we were talking a little bit about the differences. Can you tell us about that, and also what tools that you use and that they carry for you to help you do your job?
Okay, so you can see one of them has a big giant ladder on top, and one of them doesn't, or 2 of them don't. This one over here is called a fire truck. You can see on the side there's a T-6 and a 1, and at the top TLR. That means Tulare, and that's T is for truck, and the dash is for 61. Behind you is station 61. So that tells everybody that knows how to read that writing, this is Tulare's truck from Station 61. And what a truck means, this isn't a truck, believe it or not. This is a truck with a ladder on it. A truck has a ladder or a platform that's gonna go up high to rescue people or put firefighters on the roof to investigate or cut holes or whatever we need to do that's really, really tall. This ladder will go up 75 feet in the air. It goes really, really high up. The other two that you see are very similar. One's a little bit older, one's a little bit newer, but they're both engines. As you can see, there's TLR for Tulare, an E for engine, and then from Station 61, which is behind you, this is where it's housed. An engine means that it carries a complement of hose and has water and a pump. So when we get to a fire, say a car's on fire, we immediately can pull hoses off using the water that's in the tank of a fire engine, not a truck with a ladder, and we can start squirting water. That's the difference between the truck and the engine.
Awesome. So can you tell us, I'm noticing all of these gauges over here.
Oh, yeah.
What is all of this stuff?
Okay, so this truck is special because it also has a pump, just like a fire engine, so it's dual purpose. Some trucks have water tanks and pumps, other trucks do not. With that, this is technically called a quint because it can do all 5 things. It has a pump and an engine and a ladder and a tank and special tools, so it's kind of like a fire engine with a ladder on top. With that, all of these gauges do different things. So when a firefighter exits the cab and pulls one of these hose lines, the many hose lines that are on an engine, the apparatus operator, remember the person that's the next step up from a firefighter, gets out and starts operating these gauges and the pump with the computer system. And it pressurizes hose lines. And there's a lot of math involved. You have water coming in from a fire hydrant, you have water going through a pump, getting pressurized. You're gonna read these calculations on your pressure gauges using math in your head super duper fast. You need to make sure that you're getting the right pressure to the person, depending if they're on the first story, second story, third story, and not make them come flying off the ground with the hose. And also, just because water's coming in and water's coming out, you actually lose water pressure when you pump it through a hose. It's called theoretical friction loss. So they have to overcome that knowledge of how much pressure is in the hose and how much water pressure they're losing during that operation. A lot of math, really fast.
Yeah. Does most of the water that you use come from fire hydrants?
All of the water that we get comes from a fire hydrant, with the exception of the existing water inside of the fire engine or fire truck's tank. This has 500 gallons of water. 1 gallon of water is the big thing of milk that's in your refrigerator. Now imagine 500 of those inside of here, ready to go. You want to see? Watch your shoes. There's water in here. I want to open and drain it all out, but it's connected, 500 gallons, and also a fire hydrant hose that we hook up to here will go in here and pressurize us and give us virtually an unlimited water supply. But we conserve water as much as we can. We don't try and waste it.
Awesome. So how many men do you have on a crew, and where do they sit when you're traveling to the fire?
I'm glad you bring that up because we use the term firefighter, and a boy or a girl can be a firefighter. It's super important that everybody knows that I actually enjoy having female firefighters and female captains with me. It's awesome to have that dynamic of the workforce, to be able to go out and serve 50% of the population that I could never, ever empathize with in certain situations. So with that being said, firefighting's for everybody. Everybody can do it as long as you don't get in trouble, stay away from gangs, do your homework, and you're a hard worker. Anybody can come and do this job. And I can't wait to see you guys come along. This truck is staffed with 3 people. When it goes out onto a call, you have the same thing that I talked about before. You have a fire captain, somebody like myself, that's gonna sit in the front passenger seat. We're gonna read a map, we're gonna open it up, we're gonna look for fire hydrants, we're gonna look at what the address is and what the best way to get there is, kind of like navigating. And we're setting up a plan as we go. The fire apparatus engineer next in line is the person driving, with the lights and the siren and the horn and making sure that we get there safely, and also having completed in the morning their daily check to make sure that not only this apparatus is safe for the road, but all of the equipment is ready for an aggressive firefight, because we use our tools and we use them very hard, and they are designed for firefighting operations specifically. We can't just go to Home Depot and buy a chainsaw. We use a firefighting chainsaw, and we have to do very specific checks every day. The third person typically sits behind the apparatus operator, but they can also sit behind the captain. It's just kind of a crew thing. And certain parts of the state, firefighters sit in different positions. Here in the city of Tulare, commonly the firefighter sits behind the apparatus operator, and the captain will turn around and look at him on our headset and give him or her a very clear objective of what that plan is going to be once we arrive at scene. Hey, I need you to pull a hose lay. Hey, I want you to grab the hook and the irons. Hey, I want you to do this, and that, to make sure that the plan that the fire captain is establishing and the crew is all on the same page. And if it's a big incident, multiple engines, a chief is coming too, then we will all kind of huddle together and talk on the radio and get everybody on the same page. Just like a football play, we all line up on that line and then we go and attack.
So do you have GPS in your truck, or how do you know where the emergency is?
That's funny. Let me grab my map book.
How can we see inside?
Yeah, you sure can. While we're speaking of this, here's my map book. See? Map book. Very generic, right? The map book here tells me where everything is in the city. Let's just open a random page here. Let's find one with that. There we go. Okay. So this is Mooney Boulevard in Bardsley, right over there. And if somebody from, and I don't know anybody on this street, I'm just picking it at random, 1922 Ash Street calls 911 because there's a cat in a tree. And if we go out there to Ash Street, 1922 Ash Street, the dispatcher is going to tone us out and they're going to tell us, engine 61, respond, there's a report of a cat in a tree, to grid 42D. See where it says 42D, hashtag 42D. And then they're going to say 1922 Ash Street. I'm going to come out to the engine. I'm going to sit inside. I'm going to put on my seatbelt first. I'm going to put on my headset so I can communicate without screaming and yelling, and I protect my hearing. And I'm going to tell my driver, hey, when we exit this fire station, I need you to go ahead and make a left on Bardsley. You're going to take Bardsley all the way down to Peggy, make a left, and then make a right on Ash. It's going to be your fourth house on the left. That's how quickly we get there. We have everybody's address, and then you see these little green dots on there. Can you zoom in on those? Mm-hmm. Those are all fire hydrants. So if there was a fire at that same address, I would tell my engineer the exact same directions, except I would say, hey, there's a fire hydrant on the corner of Peggy and Ash on the northwest corner, and there's also one right across the street, or right down the street at 1880 on the corner of Mark. Same direction for us to have. We always get 2 fire hydrants just in case.
Nice.
So that's how we get there so fast. Not to mention too that we study when we're rookie firefighters the maps of the city, the major crosses and thoroughfares, and the 100 blocks of each area. So I should be able to tell you the 100 block of a major cross street right off the top. And we test each other. We'll sit down at dinner, start eating, and be like, hey rookie, crossing J Street, it's 100 block. They'll go, huh. I say, you better get back to me. And they end up learning that. And it's important because when you hear an address, you should be able to know, hey, 1200 West should be around this area. So if I can't find it in the map book or something's wrong, that's where it goes. We also do have GPS.
Oh, nice.
This is the most reliable. Absolutely. Old paper maps are the stopgap because sometimes it doesn't work. It gets really, really hot in here. You guys know you don't leave a pet or a person in a car. Sometimes these get hot and the screens don't work well. And they 99% of the time they work fine. But if for some reason the battery dies or whatever, there's a problem with technology, we fall back on our good old trusty map book. And a good captain will always pull out the map book and they will give their engineer directions to where they're going along with fire hydrants.
Nice. So not any firefighter can drive an engine then?
No, but the goal is to have everybody able to drive and pump the engine by their second year of employment.
Awesome.
It requires some additional training, but everybody should be able to at least do a major portion of everyone else's job, because what we do is dangerous and we could get very hurt doing it. And if I'm by myself with my crew and unfortunately I become injured, I need somebody to be able to pick up that task and do it safely and then get emergency services rolling if unfortunately stuff like that happens. But
so where on the truck do you store all of, or your engine, do you store all of your tools?
all over.
Oh,
You ever seen a toolbox? It's got a little handle on top. Maybe a plumber picks it up and walks in your house with a toolbox. This is a toolbox with wheels and a squirt gun and a water tank. This is what it is. It is a rolling toolbox with a squirt gun and a water tank. That's what I think of it. Absolutely. for one, here's my axe. This is my personal axe. I store it right here so it's quick for me when I'm getting dressed for an emergency. This is just one tool of the job. When I'm wearing all my gear, it goes around my waist. Comes around just like so. I'm wearing all my gear. And I have a fire axe here. It's just one tool. I have a bailout bag, a rope bag, in case I gotta jump out of a burning house or building. Something goes wrong, something goes sideways. I have a way to clip into a rope so I can descend. And I have a metal wedge to open a door because sometimes we don't have the keys. So that's just one tool, one place where we keep it. Let me show you all of the other cool stuff. Moving right along. So you can see right here, just like you saw in the truck, here's a complement of fire hoses. Some of them are pre-attached, other ones aren't pre-attached. The most frequent call that we go on and the majority of the tools that we use are actually not going to be fire tools at all. They're medical tools. I'm a paramedic and just about everybody here is a paramedic. Everybody has gone to paramedic school for the most part. We have a few EMTs, which emergency medical technician is the step before paramedic, just like firefighter is the step before engineer. It's just a little bit more technical knowledge and the ability to give a few more medications. With that, this is our emergency medical services compartment. This is the compartment that we go to the most. About 70% of our 911 call volume is for persons in distress with a medical emergency or a traumatic incident. With that, you asked about tools. Here they are. This is our cardiac monitor. We can look at your heart and see what it's doing. See what your heartbeat is, check your blood pressure, look at how much oxygen is floating around in your blood. And if other more serious things are happening, we have more and more tools that we can use just on this monitor right here. This is a very high-tech piece of equipment. It's like the same thing you would see mounted on the wall in the hospital at Cahuilla Delta or Adventist Tulare. Next here we have bags. These bags are full of medication. If anybody has asthma, you ever been to the doctor and you get the little nebulizer that has the little puffs coming out of it? We have those in here for people that have asthma. We have shots. Ooh, we don't like giving them and we don't like getting them either. But you know what? Sometimes people need to get a shot and it's scary for them and we do our best to make them feel better if we can. In this bag we have oxygen and all kinds of other things to help people that are having breathing difficulties, not just asthma, but all kinds of other tools. Everything you see on this slide out tray and in this compartment is the exact same complement that you would have inside of an emergency ambulance that shows to your house without the gurney. We just don't have the ability to wheel you to the hospital. But we have everything in here that an ambulance carries, along with the exact same training as them. So if you look on the door right here, you'll see it says paramedic on every single one of our fire engines and fire trucks. This is the compartment that we use the most. And we train on both equally. Fire is horribly dangerous, and if a tool is used incorrectly can result in great bodily injury, not only to the person and the property, but to us as the people that are tasked with protecting you from it when it gets out of control. So moving along from there, we'll move into all the rest of the fire gear. So the first thing I can pull out for you guys is a thing called the Rescue 42 struts. These are super duper cool. So sometimes a car is driving, and sometimes the car crashes. Sometimes it flips over on its side. Sometimes people text when they're driving, and they should never, ever, ever do that. But with that being said, these Rescue 42 struts, if we have a car that's on its side or on its top and it's unstable, and we have people inside of it, if there's nobody in the car, we're not gonna mess around because it's dangerous. But if it's dangerous, we try to make it as safe as possible for everybody involved, including the people in the car and us, the rescuers. And what we do with these is we stick them up next to the car, kind of like a kickstand on a bicycle, so it doesn't fall over. And these telescope out and in, and we can adjust them. We have special straps and chains that we can attach to them for big rigs and all kinds of other cars that crash sometimes on the freeway or on the street. It's pretty scary being in a car crash. Next, we have a rope bag. Sometimes we might need to go over the side of a cliff. There's not too many cliffs in the city of Tulare, but we go all up and down the state with requests for help. So we have to know how to work off of a cliff or a beach embankment, or maybe the top of Saputo Cheese or Dairyman's if somebody's up there conducting work and they fall ill or get injured. So inside here we have hundreds of feet of rescue rope, and it's super duper strong. And we know how to tie special knots and tie ourselves off in special harnesses and hang off this stuff to go get somebody who needs our help. There's all kinds of different special classes that we take on top of just the fire academy. Once you start just getting into this rope rescue, this rescue 42 auto extrication, there's so many layers to the onion of firefighting. It's so interesting, and that's what has kept me so engaged, and all of us here for the past decades or even 1 year. It doesn't matter how long you've been here, you learn something new every day, you learn something new every class. So much fun. More firefighting equipment here. All right, right here you can see this is my #1 fan. Right, this is a power fan. These were actually repurposed a long time ago by people that fill up hot air balloons, believe it or not. And a firefighter saw them filling up hot air balloons and said, I bet you that would move a whole lot of smoke. So that's what we use them for now. We use them to move smoke around and put fresh air into buildings and help us find or move smoke in a firefighting operation to keep us safe. We have a generator right here because when we go to a house that's on fire or a building on fire, we disable the utility services, which mean power, water, and gas, or even solar if we have to go and do that up on the roof. With that, we bring our own electricity because we can't really see that well at night, and we'll bring a special light with us that's super duper bright. It's like 400 headlights of a car if you look into it. And we have special extension cords, and we bring our own electricity because if there was an emergency in the building, we don't want to use the infrastructure or the systems that are there because it's going to possibly be dangerous for us and short out. Water and electricity, they're not super good friends, and we bring lots and lots of water and just a little bit of electricity. So we try and be safe. Here's some fire extinguishers. We use these on different things, like maybe perhaps a small oven fire that hasn't spread to the house. We'll crack open the oven door, squirt this in there, and close it down. Or a water can. You can put out a lot of water with 2.5 gallons in here. We don't maybe need to stretch all the hose in and fill up somebody's living room if all we really need is a little bit of dry chemical or a little bit of water. So we try and be conscientious to not damage property too as much as possible, because we do understand that what we do sometimes is destructive. Unfortunately, it's part of the deal when we are trying to stop a fire from spreading and destroying a building or harming people. We have to go in there and do a certain amount of work. But whenever possible, we try and be absolutely as careful as we can and use specialized tools for smaller fires. Coming back over here, it's pretty hot in the valley. So we have an ice chest, and it's usually full all kinds of super cold waters.
Thank you.
And sometimes it's full of rags that we can wring out and wipe our face with and wipe off the soot and the smoke, and kind of during a break period, if the fire's not out but I need to take a little 5-minute break, I can get in the shade, cool myself off, drink some water, put my gear back on, and go right back to work. That's what this is for. Some other stuff in there too that's pretty neat. Back here, we have fire hose. These are 200-foot pre-connected lines. The reason why we have these lines at certain lengths is because it's the standard layout of a residential lot in the city of Tulare. So we have it pre-planned with our prevention and building department to kind of know how much hose we need pre-connected to get to certain parts. Now, not every wheel fits every car, right? So sometimes we have ones that aren't connected, like over here. For instance, if we were going to a large apartment complex, like Casa del Rey up on Prosperity, we might have to walk a few hundred feet before we get to where we need to go. So having them pre-connected and stopping like a dog on a leash is not going to be cool. So we can go up to 800 feet off of this one, just walking and finding out where the fire is going to be, and essentially putting a water pipe above ground before we start squirting the water. In here, we have a thing called a rubbish hook, and we have ladders. One's a 24-foot extension ladder. One is a 14-foot ground ladder with roof hooks. One is a 75-foot aerial ladder. In the back of this truck, there's several more ladders in the back so we can get up high. Why? Heat rises, it goes up, so does fire. Sometimes we need to get to the roof or into the attic, and hey, I'm not a super tall dude, so I'm gonna need a ladder to get up there. And I'm not Spider-Man, I can't crawl up the side of a building, unfortunately. And when we do go up on the roof, we use this. And when we walk on the roof, we hit really hard on the roof to make sure that we're on a structural member when we're walking, and we're not just walking on a piece of tile or plywood. This also is really good for if there's a trash fire or a pile of stuff that caught fire for whatever reason. We put it in there, and we rake it out, spread it out, sprinkle water on top of it, and put the fire out. So some of our tools have multi-purposes. Moving right along. We have a special ladder to go up top. Up top, there's even more storage. It's called the dunnage and the jockey box is what we call it. And we have shovels and tools, and we have little blocks that look like Lincoln logs for cribbing up. So that car on its side, remember that we put the Rescue 42s? Well, maybe we'll have to lift it up or move it around, and we will put those Lincoln logs underneath it to keep it from falling down as we lift it. Speaking of lifting a car up, over here in this compartment, we have a really, really cool tool that's one of my favorites to use, and it's called an airbag. Not an airbag like in your steering wheel or you see in a car. Okay, these are low lift, high strength airbags. This little guy right here will lift 5.4 tons. That's a lot. A ton is 2,000 pounds. So this will lift over 10,000 pounds up off the ground. If I can wedge this underneath the back of a pickup truck that's on its side and inflate it with special tools, it's gonna go ahead and lift that truck up, so maybe I can pull something or somebody out from underneath it. Speaking of cribbing blocks and Lincoln logs, this is what I'm talking about. When that car is on its side and we use the Rescue 42 struts and I put an airbag underneath it and lift that car up, I'm gonna shove a piece of cribbing underneath so it doesn't fall back down on whatever it is I'm trying to pull out, or my hand.
Very important.
Very super important to not get hurt. These, everybody, are the jaws of life. A very specialized set of rescue tools for cutting cars apart. Sometimes, again, people crash their cars. There's accidents on the road. It happens a lot, unfortunately. Don't text and drive, please. It can wait. With that, we have to go sometimes and cut the car away from the person that's trapped inside of it. Cars are made out of metal and plastic, and sometimes when they get smushed, the person can't get out without very special help. And we have some extra training and special practice that we use these awesome tools, and they're pretty heavy, and we're wearing all our gear and it's hot, and we're doing as delicate work as possible to cut the pieces of car away from the person so we can either put them in an ambulance or a helicopter and send them off to the specialized doctors at Kuya Delta Trauma Center or RMC Fresno, depending on what's going on with that. More firefighting tools over here. Two of my favorite buddies. We have the chainsaw, which we talked about earlier. You can't just go to Home Depot and get one of those electric plug-in chainsaws. It's not gonna work. We have a very specialized, spec'd out fire equipment for doing jobs of firefighting. And we don't use chainsaws, we're not lumberjacks, we don't go cutting trees down. We have trimmed a tree or two here and there, maybe when they fall down during a rainstorm, but this is for actually cutting holes in a roof. A roof is like a triangle most of the time, or at least maybe flat sometimes. With that triangle, heat and smoke gets trapped in the middle of that, and fire sometimes too, during a structure fire. A truck crew will go up to the roof with their special sounding tool, find out where that fire is, and cut a hole with that chainsaw to let the smoke and fire go up. It wants to go up, we talked about that earlier. And when that smoke and fire goes up and out, it allows us, the engine crews, to go in and fight the fire easier without extreme heat. I'm talking 600, 700, 800 degrees sometimes, where we're crawling. Now, once we cut that hole and the truck crew, does a great job, it makes the firefight faster, easier to see, and safer for everybody involved. That's what the chainsaw's for. Over here, this guy, you can see him, he's the rotary saw. The rotary saw is for cutting bars off of windows, steel gates off of front doors, or any other type of metal or whatever we think we might need to cut with it. we'll go ahead and apply this tool to make sure that we can get through. Some people have burglar bars on their windows, or you might have one of those thunder fences, is what my kids call them, on the front door of the screen of your house, a security gate. Well, sometimes those things are hard to break open. So we need this to cut the hinges off or cut the lock off and go ahead and open that door so we can get in and fix whatever problem there is, whether it's a fire or a medical emergency or whatever that is blocking us from getting in. We can go ahead and remove that if need be. But we always try and look for a better way first. Underneath here is my fire apparatus engineer, Frank Nunez. He has a belt axe. You can see his belt is very different than mine. His is like a piece of leather that goes around his waist and just holds the axe on the side, and that's fine. Mine's a little bit different. I have a rope bag and some other stuff, but it's still holding my fire axe. Every good firefighter has a fire axe with them when they go into a building. This is to open things, open walls, look for hidden fire, or if needed, use it to help yourself escape, to go through a door, to move stuff. It is a very critical tool. And just like the map is critical to getting my crew there, and every good captain maps their crew in, every good firefighter, engineer, and captain has a fire axe on their hip. In here, it's gonna lead up to the self-contained breathing apparatus, but in here is about 20 minutes of air. That's what's in here. And we don't crack it open like an egg or anything. It's actually stored inside under high pressure. There's 4,500 pounds per square inch inside of this bottle. 60 cubic feet of air forced inside here. And it gives us, on a really, really hot day, like I said, about 20 minutes of work before we need to come outside and reload. They'll take it off our back, put the empty one down in a pile of empties, give us a fresh one, plug us in, tap us on the back, and say, okay, go back to work. You might have to do one or two of these before you get that water break I was talking about. But a lot of people say, oh, you guys have an oxygen tank. And they're not wrong, except the oxygen tank is in that red bag of medical supplies for people that are very sick. What you guys just saw here, you'll see it attached right now, is actually the same as the air you're breathing right now. So if you take a deep breath and exhale, that's the same stuff that's in here. There's no added oxygen. It's 20.9%, just like the air you're breathing at your house, wherever you are watching this right now. That cylinder is then plugged into this backpack looking thing. And this is called a self-contained breathing apparatus. Or you might have heard the word scuba before. That's a self-contained underwater breathing apparatus. This one is just not for underwater purposes. This is for firefighting purposes. And when we hook it up to this backpack and we plug our regulator into our face piece, which I will show you guys in just a second, it gives us, like I said, about 20 minutes of working air. Some people less because they're bigger, they have bigger lungs, they have more muscle, they use more air than me. Maybe I'll get 23 minutes. Or maybe I'm tired or already had a fire that day and it's gonna last me 14 minutes. So it all depends on what the circumstance is or how hard you're working too. This is where one of them's kept. We already talked about the pump panel, but this is one that looks different, but it does the exact same thing. So the fire apparatus engineer has to know how to work the 3 or 4 different styles of pumps. They all pump water, they all move water, they all have the same friction loss, but the computer system or the valves might be a little bit different or have different colors. So it's important that those people understand what the job is they're doing and where they're doing it, as well as what they're doing it with. So this one looks different than the other one, but it's the exact same tool. It just has a different look to it. All right. Back here is where a firefighter would typically sit. And if you can see, the firefighter's air pack or self-contained breathing apparatus, you might hear me call it air pack, it means the same thing, is mounted into the seat. So you're not supposed to pull up on it like I was. You're supposed to walk forward. But it's in the chair. This is ready to go. So on the way to a fire, I'm a firefighter, I'm dressed in my stuff, I'm getting my stuff ready, I'm wearing my seatbelt too. I'm also going to go ahead and put on my self-contained breathing apparatus. And when we get there and I hear the air brakes pop, I'll look to my captain, get my order, walk out, and come over here and grab a fire hose or whatever tool I'm ordered to get. So it's designed to be quick. Imagine that your backpack is mounted into your car seat. Wouldn't that be cool? All right, let me put this guy back here. I'll show you some more stuff. Remember this guy where the water was pouring out of? Same thing, it's hooked up to a 500-gallon water tank and to a pumping system. It's my favorite part. Super neat. Okay, this is the driver's seat. Fun fact about fire engines, there's no keys. No keys to fire engines. There's a special way to start them, and it's a secret. Only firefighters know how, but we can't be losing a set of keys. There's keys to lock doors, and we have a super secret code to open and close the doors and turn on the ignition, but only firefighters know how to do that. So nobody comes and wants to borrow the fire truck. With that, this is where the fire apparatus engineer is going to go ahead and sit.
I'm getting around 9 Aintree at 416 South 416 South.
When we're driving, we always put on our hearing protection. And we can talk to each other just like an intercom. You might see something like this on people playing video games, right? It's very similar. I put this on my ears, I speak into the microphone, and everybody in the cab can hear me. And if I want to talk to dispatch or another fire engine, I just push a special button and it transmits just like this radio right here. It's the exact same thing. This kind of looks like a car, right? I got a steering wheel, got brake pedals, but that sounds weird. The brakes on these big fire engines and trucks are operated by air. So if you hear that when you're parked next to us at a stoplight or something, that's what it is. That's the brakes making noise. On the top here, if you can see it, I have a cluster of buttons that's going to allow me to turn on different emergency lights. And those emergency lights, you've seen them, they're red and white and they flash. And we're asking people to please get out of the way. On my steering wheel right here, you might be able to see it, I have different buttons for the lights and the horns. So on the newer fire engines, the engineer doesn't have to take their eyes off the road to push the buttons. They can operate it all right here, kind of like Bluetooth. They push the buttons.
Do you have like one light pattern that you normally use?
Yeah, it's preset. So if we do one light pattern, push the master button and it turns on all the emergency lights 360 degrees around the entire room. What we're doing with those lights is we're letting everybody know that somebody somewhere around you is experiencing an emergency. And we need you to please pull your car to the right of the road and move out of our way because we're gonna go try and help somebody or something dangerous is happening and we need to get there to try and stop it from getting worse. Sometimes people are on their phone or something else is going on or they don't know what to do. But if you're seeing this and you can remember and you see a fire truck or a police car or an ambulance with their lights on and their siren and horn honking, you want to make sure that they go ahead and pull to the right. We have lots of friends, they go by and honk all the time and say hello. All right, here's my favorite part again. That one needs a little bit of grease. Coming to the front of the fire engine, you can see the front of the fire engine's really cool looking. And the lights flash, you just saw that and whatnot. But on the front bumper, we also have a pre-connected hose. Sorry. This pre-connected hose is for fighting like car fires or maybe a dumpster fire or other things like that because we're actually going to use the fire truck, as beautiful as it is, to protect us on the road. Because not everybody's paying attention sometimes and they want to see what's on fire or whatever else is going on. So we will actually block traffic with the fire engine, and if need be, the fire engine will take a car crashing into it instead of us working on the street. So we put a special hose in the front of the engine to protect us in our work area so traffic doesn't come. Because I'm not going to fare very well against a Honda Civic, but the fire engine is going to protect me from it. So we use it for dual purpose too. It's kind of like a shield for us.
Does the bell actually
The
work?
bell actually does work. It's very traditional. Bells, different rings and tones mean different things in the fire service. So after a call, usually 2 bells. We'll ding the bell. If it's 2:30 in the morning, we might not ding the bell in front of your house. But that is a fire engine and some of the tools that we use.
Now I know that we went all around and we talked about tools, but I'm curious, what do you wear when you go out on a fire? I'm guessing that you don't store that on the truck. Are you already wearing it by the time that you get to the engine?
When I get to no, my gear is on the engine with me.
Oh, okay.
We keep it with us. So if I go to Smart and Final or Starbucks, we love Starbucks. We go get a cup of coffee from one of the local coffee cup places. And when we get our coffee cup and we're enjoying our delicious coffee, we might have an emergency. But we can't drive back to the station and pick up our gear. We need to have it with us. So we keep it mobile and we keep it in a special location in the cab. You can see my helmet right there. That's where I keep my helmet. Other firefighters keep other stuff. Yep, and I'll show you guys that stuff. I keep it right here behind me. So here are my turnout trousers. I'll set these right here so you can see them. And my boots are already inside. Remember I talked about I gotta take my boots off? Because these are special firefighting boots. These are not for fighting fire inside of a house. These are for the station. And then I have my special jacket. My special firefighting jacket. And on the back you'll see it says City of Tulare. That's where we work, that's who we serve. And on the bottom is my name. Smiley. You wanna know why it has our name on it? It's because when we're all dressed up in this gear, we all look like penguins. We're all dressed the same. So sometimes we need to know, like, hey, who is that person out there? Oh, it's Smiley, okay. So that's what that's for. It's kind of like a cheat sheet or a name tag. When you're in a new class, hi, my name is Bob, right? Oh, that's Bob, cool. And after a while, we can recognize who we are. But if I go to the city of Visalia, or if I go to the city of Porterville to go help them fight a big, big fire, they might not know who I am. And they might be like, hey, Smiley, right there. Come over here. And I have also my fire helmet. The red fire helmet means that you're a captain. The yellow fire helmet means that you're either an engineer or you are a firefighter. And that depends on the color of the shield. But the red hat, kind of like a foreman on a construction job, it means different things. And my helmet also says 61 on it. Why? Because I'm at station 61. This is my home station. So when we're out on a fire, somebody can see the red helmet and the number and go, that's the captain from station 61. And I might be working overtime on another shift, but at least they know who I am. They can see what this means. And it's pretty universal. It signifies that I'm a fire captain from station 61. Visalia uses the 50 series, so they might be station 51. And Porterville uses 70 series, so they might be 71. So knowing those numbers means knowing which city that they serve and help. But we all have the same mission and we're willing to help each other out when requested to do so. And this is my gear. Did you want me to put it on?
No, it's hot. I'm gonna give you a break.
Okay.
With that.
You can see this is just the jacket by itself and how much it weighs. Can you grab it? It's pretty heavy.
Oh my goodness, it's very heavy.
It sure is.
I feel like I need a help. Oh my goodness.
And that is just the jacket. It's 3 layers and it protects us from fire, from steam, and also from heat. And these are the pants with the boots attached. You got the boot straps?
I think so. Oh my goodness. I'm gonna have you hold the other one. That's really heavy.
It's pretty heavy. And then with the air pack, I didn't have you hold that. With my pants and my boots and my air pack and my helmet and my belt, I'm getting right at about 75 pounds of extra gear without even doing anything yet. No work. I'm just wearing that. So if you see fire engines, if we're at the track jogging together, or you see a fire engine at the gym, the reason is because physical fitness is very important to us. Because at 3:30 in the morning when it's still 100 degrees out, you have to be able to count on us to be able to go that extra mile and go in there and be able to do the job. That's one of our chiefs right there. Remember I was talking about the hierarchy? That's Division Chief Rodney Roberts, and they have special trucks. They don't ride around in a fire engine or a fire truck. They have their staff vehicles. And those staff vehicles will follow behind, and in the back of the cab there, they have a special screen that they open up and they can write on a whiteboard, and they're the people on a big fire or a large car crash or something that's going on that's a big deal. They get themselves put in charge and they start telling the captains what to do. And that's how we operate.
So who takes care of the fire engine then while it's not being used? Are you responsible for washing it, cleaning it?
We're all responsible for washing it and cleaning it. Just like your house, we have chores here. And different people have different chores. So Bob's job might be, hey, you got to take out the trash and feed the dog. And Sarah's job might be, hey, you need to make sure that the lawn is mowed and that the car is washed, right? Like these are, or we fold the laundry or whatever the case may be. In your own family, everybody has their own little chore and their responsibility. Well, cleaning and cleanliness is part of our pride and appearance and thankfulness to the community. This fire engine and this fire truck is not mine. It's not anybody that works here. It's everybody that lives in the city of Tulare. They own this equipment and this fire station. So it behooves us to not keep it super clean and nice and shiny, to pay homage and respect and thanks to all the people that are able to give back to us to have the best and most modern fire equipment to give back to them in a time of need. So we all wash it together. We will all polish something. On Saturdays, we clean the inside of the station. It's a house. It has a bathroom and a kitchen and bedrooms and all kinds of stuff. We sleep here for 48 hours. I came to work yesterday morning at 8 o'clock. I will go home tomorrow at 8 o'clock. 2 full days. If you've ever stayed at grandma or grandpa's house or aunt and uncle's house for a full weekend, you're like, oh my gosh, that was such a long time. Well, that's how long we come to work every week, 48 hours. And the people that you see behind me and driving through, we live together for 2 days a week. We stay here. We don't go home at 5 o'clock. We're here, and if somebody picks up the phone and calls 911 at 3:30 in the morning on Thanksgiving, we wake up and we get in the truck and we drive over there. We never close.
Okay, is it true that animals can be firefighters?
Absolutely they can. I don't know of any current animals that wear structural firefighting equipment and go inside of burning houses, but traditionally we would keep dogs at the firehouse because specifically Dalmatian dogs would get along very well with the fire horses and they would run. Dalmatians have a very, very keen sense of danger. And when they're running alongside the fire horses with all that stamina and energy that they naturally have, they would keep other dogs away from attacking the fire horses. They were protecting the fire horses, and they were the fire horses' best buddies. So they would keep Dalmatians because of their ability to run long distances and take care of the fire horses at the firehouse. More and more as times went on and we didn't have fire horses, we started losing dogs in the fire station. Now we use them for emotional support and other needs as necessary, but unfortunately, being a paramedic, I understand that not everybody can tolerate dog fur and dander. So to have a dog sitting on my lap in the fire station and then I go to your house and you're allergic to a dog, it might not do very well for a pre-existing medical condition or make something worse. So currently we don't have any pets at the fire stations. I'd love to see a fish maybe or something else that maybe nobody's allergic to. But with that, those are decisions that aren't for us to make. And we want to make sure that we're serving the public at large and not just our own want to have a dog. I have a dog at home, I have a cat at home, we have a hamster and all kinds of other stuff. But we want to make sure that we are here for everyone else. And sometimes just having a puppy at the fire station isn't the best thing for certain people that are allergic to dogs or cats or birds or fish. Is anybody allergic to fish? Maybe if they eat it, right? But we wouldn't eat our pet goldfish.
All right, one last question for you. What is your favorite part of your job?
My favorite part of the job is everything.
Everything.
There's not a day that I come to work that I'm not enjoying myself and learning something new. And there's not a call that's not the same as the last one. Even if it's the same person calling for a very similar emergency. All right, we sometimes have repeat customers because, hey, people get sick. And as they age or things get worse with their disease process, we might meet them over and over and over again. And that's okay, that's what we're here for. But every call is different. Maybe the door's locked this time. Or maybe I need to think about what happened last time and apply it to this call with a different set of circumstances. Or maybe I've seen this medical emergency before in a different person, or car accident, or fire at a different location. And it seems to be similar, but very, very different. We get to go out and help people. People enjoy us coming to their house and trying to solve a problem for them, no matter the circumstances. It doesn't matter what's going on. Firefighters are your friend, and we will help you with whatever it is within our job capabilities to make your day brighter and safer.
Awesome. I want to thank you today,
You're welcome.
Fire Captain Smiley, for coming, for talking to us. And he gave us lots of awesome information. I hope you learned something that you didn't already know. I sure did. And I appreciate you guys tuning in, and make sure to read, investigate, and discover, dig deeper. And with all of our library materials, you can learn about being a firefighter. We have lots of firefighter books too. So make sure you check out our catalog, and we'll see you guys next
We
time.
got one more thing. Smoke detectors save lives. Make sure you change the batteries in your smoke detector when you change the time on your clocks. Smoke detectors will save your life in a fire. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.